Hope you have your coffee ready, Don. Round 2. I found I made several connections back to Module 1 as I progressed through Module 2's readings. The one thing that continues to stand out for me so far in everything that we've read is this notion of human bias. It just kind of lives there in the back of my head. Quote, these decisions are based on values, attitudes, and beliefs that they have developed involving their knowledge and interpretation of causes, events, and their consequences. It troubles me so much that even after I tapped on this in my previous blog, I felt it necessary to revisit it here in Module 2. And it bears repeating. Ornstein says that philosophy influences our educational decisions and choices. It is of such an importance that not only do we need to acknowledge the role bias plays in curriculum design, but we have to ensure that there are checks and balances in place, because socialization stressed too much leads to indoctrination. Curriculum designers then have this monumental, transformative task of deciding what is relevant or not in their frameworks. If human bias or socialization plays such an integral role to influence what designers include, i.e. what is taught, and how it's used to evaluate, then aren't we obligated then to include a fail-safe in the event we go too far with our design models? Quote, individuals draw their experiences, their lived histories, their values, their belief systems, their social interactions, and their imaginations. Do we then have the ability to recognize if our human bias is off-centered? What if we go too far in curriculum? Let us look at how curriculum designers obtain their knowledge base in the first place. Is it like the middle schooler that wants to solve for X, but before they can solve for X, they have to learn how to add and subtract in primary school? In other words, to develop a particular curricular philosophy, the writer must have some foundations already formulated in their heads in order to lean towards that way or adopt that philosophy concept in the first place. We can't just jump into something in the middle without having some kind of knowledge first, right? So this includes where we start to build those foundations. Because, as Ornstein and Hunkins said back in Module 1's readings, curriculum is elusive, fragmentary, and confusing. It's my absolute favorite quote. So how exactly do we decide? Quote, answers to these questions invariably hinge on developers' beliefs and values toward subject matter. Unquote. You see where I'm going with this, right? The wheels on the bus go round and round. We'll come back to this in a little bit. So, the philosophies of education seek to answer the following questions. What is to be taught? How is it to be taught? And how will it be evaluated? Or as Ornstein puts it, the aims, means, and ends of curriculum. The traditionalists wish to train the mind, emphasize subject matter, and fill the learner with knowledge and information. On the other hand, those who ascribe to contemporary philosophies are more concerned with problem solving and emphasize student interests and needs. Ornstein divides these philosophies into two general groups, traditional and contemporary schools of thought. He further divides them into 4 subgroups: perennialism, essentialism, progressivism, and reconstructionism. Say that 5 times fast. In our group work, we saw a pattern that divided all the material we looked at into one of these 2 core concepts. They were either traditional or they were contemporary. We felt then that the curriculum orientations from Module 1 and the philosophies and designs for Module 2 fell neatly into one of these 2 categories. The philosophy subgroups fall into these 2 groups as follows. So perennialism and essentialism are traditional in that they look to the past and the transfer of prerequisite knowledge and information onto the student by looking to convey belief and theory. Whereas progressivism and reconstructionism are contemporary in that they lean towards a student-centered design model that incorporates, among other things, how the student learns, how they use that knowledge, how do they engage, all leading up to how they're going to make future choices. They look at evaluating belief and theory instead of conveying it. The same goes for the principles of design that both Ornstein and Sowell examine and lay out. All design models fall into either the traditional or contemporary category. For example, subject-centered design such as subject, discipline, broad field, correlative, and process fall into the traditional category because they all put emphasis on the subject rather than the student. Learner-centered and problem-centered design models look at how the student learns, how the student is interested in what they're learning, and how they engage in that material. The mere fact that the design features the student needs first makes it contemporary. So if we circle back for a moment to Module 1's discussion of the 5 curriculum orientations, we can see correlations and similarities that make them also fit into one of the other categories, right? So let's quickly review those 5 curriculum orientations. We won't go into depth. We're just going to review them really quick. They are cognitive process, academic rationalization, technology as a curriculum, self-actualization, and self-reconstructionism. The 5 conceptions of curriculum include each one based on subject matter, society, and culture, and learners, plus 2 conceptions that cut across these traditional sources of curriculum. Sowell, 2005. In our group work, we concluded that cognitive process, academic rationalization, and technology of curriculum favored the traditional category as they are subject-centered. They seek to, put the subject on the student. Whereas self-actualization and social reconstructionism are learner-focused, making them contemporary. However, it seems that none of these ideas, conceptions, philosophies, or orientations seem to stand alone as the quintessential curriculum or curriculum philosophy. There is an uncertainty of how to understand, define, and give meaning to quality as an educational phenomenon. Perhaps the answer lies in something simply more wonderful than we've previously thought in all these concepts. Is it possible that it lies in the very underpinning of what we want our children to learn in the first place? It has roots in concepts such as anti-bullying. Simply, cooperation. Cooperation. Both Ornstein and Sowell conclude that the only answer is to create this mix of ideas that each carry equal weight and value. Equity. What a concept. What if the answer is a hybrid of all the philosophies, concepts, and orientations that makes up the ultimate prize? What if all subjects and approaches have equal value? And what would that look like? All the philosophies want the same thing, don't they? The best possible education for our students. But Ornstein does point out that the difficulty lies in the human bias. It lies in the views that either traditionalists or contemporaries hold on to. It makes it difficult to strike a balance, and in most cases leads to a stalemate with only temporary fixes. Curriculum design, more than ever, must be carefully considered so that the curriculum imparts essential understanding, attitudes, and skills. We must also be cognizant of the diverse communities that design attracts. Additionally, we must welcome hybrid and entirely new designs that meld new technologies. If there could be a collaborative hybrid that extols the benefit of each approach, design, or philosophy, then the concept of cooperation becomes steeped in the curriculum and filters down into the fingers that make up pedagogy and learning. If it's true that no curriculum can be considered apart from the people who make up our evolving society, then maybe the answer lies in starting now to incorporate all the different approaches beyond pedagogically and relying on the teachers to bring it into the classroom. Maybe it needs to start higher up, so that when today's students become tomorrow's curriculum designers, and they will be better equipped to design a curriculum that incorporates both all the traditional and all the contemporary ideas, conceptions, and philosophies and orientations as one school of thought. Something to think about. Have an awesome day.